It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
It's not a lie if you believe it.
Laugh.
We had a little fun, because it's a very long day, you know.
And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is The Focus Group with Tim Bennett.
All right, let's go already.
And John Nash.
Pucker up, Buttercup.
With a focus on career, the consumer culture, and marketing from an LGBT point of view. We're all business, except when we're not.
Welcome to the Focus Group and welcome to 2018. I'm John Nash and I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Mr. Tim Bennett.
Hi, everybody.
And apparently, January is Blue Day. We're both wearing blue.
It's like a Hanukkah blue almost.
Okay, this shirt is from Bob. It's the new form of charity. You know how I used to always bring home dish towels and stuff from the old job? Well, his new job at PVH is clothing, so now it's shirts and socks and.
Are you getting underwear?
No. You have to order that, but that's not. But shirts.
You're not getting free underwear?
No free underwear.
What they do? Calvin Klein or whatever?
Calvin Klein, Tommy, Speedo, Arrow, Van Heusen. I think maybe Joffrey Bean. I think this is a.
I can't wear the Calvin Klein. Too tight.
We were just talking about that before we came on the air. Hey, focusgroupradio.com is where we would like you to go to check out all things about the show, including the platforms we're on, how to find us on audio and video. And if you're watching live on YouTube or Facebook, feel free to join the conversation at 877-962-6846. New year, and I'm going to say something off the bat. Tim, have you checked our letters at focusgroupradio.com lately? There have been great comments from people. A couple of people have asked for copies of Kelly McDonald's book, because we had 2 signed copies I think we're going to give away. One listener commented that she loves the show, and I'm going to take the blame for this, and she loves the show, but there's too much talking over each other. I know you guys know each other really well, but you talk, and I'm the victim.
Is that Oprah?
No, it's me that's doing the talking over. Because remember how Paul and Mass one time called up, and he's like, you got to stop talking over. So I got to watch that. So I'll stop now. You can talk.
So there's going to be a ding. I hope we're not as bad as Anderson and Andy were on the. Did anybody watch that train wreck? They must be. So I'm guessing CNN or Bravo must be similar to Oprah or Johnny Carson back in the day. Other than Twitter blowing up about how horrific it was and what we posted, the New Year's Eve special on CNN, there's nothing else written. Now, I would have thought Page Six. I would have thought somebody else would have written about it.
Do they consider
they're
this
both
like
ignoring as if it even happened, although Twitter seems to have gone crazy with it. But I thought to myself, they sell out all the time. They go to cities doing the AC tour, AC
360 tour.
Well, yeah, because AC. But I thought if the show is as bad as they were on New Year's Eve, I would want my money back. But I hear people like it. But I don't know. Did you watch it?
I tuned in. So we had our friends Pat and Gary over for dinner on New Year's Eve, and dinner just rolled along. We were having conversation. And then like around 11:15, we're like, oh, we should tune into Times Square festivities. Of course, we go on to CNN to see Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen. And all our mouths dropped open and stayed open for at least a half an hour. We could not believe how awkward it seemed and how they didn't really have chemistry. And I was just saying to the guys in the booth, we have John on video, we have Garrett on audio, we have Allie. Allie's our Vegas ambassador.
Did you guys watch the?
They saw parts.
Yeah, I saw some of it. It was a bit awkward.
Like they weren't prepared.
It was like they didn't know each other, but they're such good friends, and it was just like.
Well, Allie, they
forced.
didn't. They wheeled Anderson out of the Madame Tussauds down the block. That was the first time Andy was meeting this version of Anderson Cooper.
Neither of them. Well, and Andy forgot his hair dye. There it is there because it's darker on the Bravo show.
You're right. You're right. It is darker on the Bravo show.
Well, it was a shame, although I did appreciate how bad it was.
Some things are so bad they're good. This was so bad it was just bad.
They complained it was cold. Then my favorite part was Ryan Seacrest was about 10 feet away doing his show, Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve.
Yeah.
And
that's right. They're right down to the okay.
Right, and Andy makes comment to Anderson right before the ball's going to drop that Mariah Carey just did a great job on the other network. And And Anderson's like, we're on CNN
network.
this year. You don't have everybody switch over to ABC. It's bad enough already.
And they did that thing where they go down to Key West and it's sushi and the shoe, the drag queen that gets dropped.
Did that. They did the pot bus.
In Denver, and they had Don Lemon. I think he was in
New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah, he was in New Orleans. So, yeah, we watched that for a bit. The ball drops, and boy, they scrambled like roaches out of Times Square after that thing. I mean, every year it's the same thing, but with 11 degrees and some kind of wind chill factor of.
Well, between Lemon and Anderson and Cohen, right? It was all gay.
Yeah. Yes, it was extremely gay. There's no
Fox was
doubt about
upset
it.
that Don Lemon kissed his boyfriend, and so it was quite a train wreck. Although I did appreciate some of the comments. I've been to ask you. So California, there's been lots of hubbub about the pot sales. Now they
Bing,
say
bing, bing,
1
legal.
in 5 people now can buy marijuana in the country because California's so big. But did you read the story? I thought you did. You read the story of the elderly couple, 80 and 82 years old. I don't know. Maybe Garrett can pull it up. They were bringing 90 or 60 pounds of pot from California to either New Hampshire or Vermont for Christmas gifts.
How many pounds?
Somebody must have talked him into it.
80 or
60
90?
And they got caught. They got pulled over in Nebraska, and their pickup.
Oh, they were driving. Okay.
They were driving all this pot. Is that what it is? What's the
Oh my
headline
God.
there?
Yeah. Garrett pulled it up. Marijuana for Christmas. Elderly couple arrested with 60
60 pounds.
pounds for gifts.
Look at all that pot.
Boy, if I had a grandma like that.
So they said they got pulled over. They didn't quite understand what the problem was.
Nana, can I have a bag of weed for Christmas?
But I think it was
Okay.
Nebraska. I didn't read the full.
Look at that.
I kind of glanced the story, but so they,
Yeah,
they got
Garrett
pulled
said
over in
Nebraska.
Nebraska. And where were they going? New Hampshire or Vermont? Did it say where they were headed to? When you read it, you have to let us know.
Some New England state.
Yeah, they were, and they just thought they were bringing gifts.
Well,
They didn't smoke it.
it was a gift when it was in California and legal. When it left the state,
And I think therein lies the problem, because now they're saying New Jersey is probably going to be the next state to have marijuana. Massachusetts has it. I don't know if it started selling
you
yet.
know, Tim, we were talking about this before the broadcast. So, as many people know, the sweeping tax, whatever you want to call it, because it didn't simplify the code, it certainly made it harder. But the bill that passed the Congress and Senate, and then that huge Trump signature that looks like something out of a Liberace museum, in law now, and we were talking about how a couple of states here in the Northeast are thinking of turning state and local taxes into charitable deductions.
Right.
So they now will classify a tax payment to the state as charity, which means you get full deduction off your federal return. I think the blue states should band together and legalize weed.
Just legalize weed. Colorado
Lower our
and Washington
taxes,
State
fine.
doesn't know what to do with all the money. They've got so much money they don't know what to do with it. Billions in tax.
In tax revenue from legal sales.
Yeah. So if you're a state and you haven't jumped on it, that's why I'm wondering. So if New Jersey gets it,
Massachusetts has it.
Massachusetts has. So if you're Connecticut or you're Pennsylvania,
Why would you let the revenue
missing out.
go?
You're missing out on it. I don't know what the problem is. The other thing I noticed this holiday season, I don't know if you did, the end of holiday season, I guess now that we're into the new year, I got more cards than I've had in the last 5 years.
Yeah, we got a lot of cards
I got
this
a lot
year.
of cards this year.
A lot of picture cards. You know, like
Yeah,
the little...
people's kids and so forth, which I appreciated.
I like cards.
I haven't sent out cards in a long time, and I feel bad about it, but I just haven't.
Did you used to do Christmas or...
Oh, I used to do a Christmas card every year, and I would write and write.
Oh, I used to do a Christmas card every year.
And then I kind of got off of our friend Jay or Susan out in Seattle. I told you this story. I made Christmas cards one year, and I sent one to her family, her dad, and the card came back right away. So, well, this is really weird.
Was it like return to sender?
No, they put it in another card with a dollar bill, and her father wrote a note and said, "Send me a real card next year."
Wait. Jay's father said this?
It's a pistol.
I like him
Marty.
already. I like
Marty
him already.
Houck. So I said, "Oh, I got a card from Mr. and Mrs. Houck."
Buy me a real one.
I went to school with Jay, and then I open it up, and there's a card, and then there's a dollar. And the little note on the dollar, little post-it note said, "Buy me a real card next year."
I have a homemade card from you.
Was it Skis and Greetings?
No, it goes all the way back to college. It was done with yellow, pink, and blue highlighter.
Oh, you probably can't talk about it.
And there's a Xerox picture on the inside of a photograph that you and I adore. And every time I open up this damn thing, I have it.
Throw that away.
No, I am not throwing that away. I have it in a box, and it's like the memory box. It's right at the top, and I pull it out of its little envelope because it came in one of those little blue Timothy J. Bennett envelopes, and then I bust out laughing. I'm like, this is a brilliant card.
Back when you wrote letters.
I have all the letters you sent me when I was in college.
That'd be a nice book.
Actually, you know
published.
something? They're pretty much like a phone conversation. I did this, I'm doing that. When are you coming home? I mean, because we didn't talk all the time on the phone, and we didn't have email or text, so you kind of just wrote that stuff down and dropped it in the mail, right?
Yeah. Can't do that now. Well, we tried to do phone calls, but you couldn't afford them.
Well, we did. We did tons of phone calls. We would get stolen credit card numbers, ring up a bill, and then the phone company would call the phone booth you're sitting in, saying, "You do realize this is illegal. Pay for this thing." You hang up and run away.
We knew there was a kid that we went to
Who
school
always
with.
had the numbers.
He had the numbers, and he would give them to us. We never stole them, but we were provided them. And then
That was the definer.
Right, and he used to use the numbers for different businesses, and he would just reverse the charges. Back then, I guess they would do that. Please charge us to number 203. ...
Well, there was a point where you could actually just plug in the number and then hit the pound key or something, and it accepted it. And that was the currency. That was currency back then. I got to work a number. I got to work a card number. I mean, think about it, right? And because we didn't take the number, but we were handed it, I felt that it was perfectly legit, right?
That's right. I had a friend in college. I mean, this is all stuff you're not supposed to do and you shouldn't be doing. We'd gone to, there was some, I think it was called Racks. It was like the equivalence of a Bradley or a Calder or whatever. And this kid that I went to school with in Ohio, Dave, he wanted the new ABBA album really bad. Remember ABBA, The Visitors?
Oh, sure. I remember the cover of that album so
In
well.
the summer, he worked at this store in Columbus, and so he had stickers, $2.99, $1.99. So
did he go into the store and put a sticker on it?
he goes, "What do you want?" I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "We're going to get a deal today." So sure enough, he goes in there and he's slapping these, like, "What albums do you want?" So he got, and we're going through the line. It's like $1.99 we're getting these ABBA albums for. And the woman at the counter, I still remember her because her name was Timmy, and it was a woman. And her name was Thimmie or something. So she's like, "I just bought this for my daughter, paid $11.99. And he looks at her, he goes, "You got to shop at Racks."
And she bought that excuse, rang it up.
I still remember there were just orange tags, stickers, just orange stickers,
Yeah.
right over the price, $2.99, $1.99.
When I used to work at Marshall's, I don't know how we got down this rabbit hole, but when I used to work at Marshall's, brand names for less, I was in the men's department, and every time I saw a shirt that I liked, the woman that I worked with, Dottie, this old German lady, she goes, "Give me that shirt." And she'd take it, and then she'd shove it behind boxes, and I'd forget about it. And maybe like a month later, she'd pull out the shirt, she'd look for it on the markdown book, and it would be like $1.99 or something. So I'd go to the counter, and my manager, Ellie Barabas, and she just goes, "Really?
Polo shirt's been here for 6 months.
Really? This has been..." And she goes, and chick, with plus employee discount, you get a shirt for like 60 cents or something. It's crazy.
I still remember that. So to this day, I'll go to Home Goods or TJ Maxx or Marshall's, and I look under the counters, and I look behind because I know
Really?
the staff's stashing stuff. That's where all the good stuff is.
They want it for markdown.
So if I go in there and there's the markdown
They
area,
must hate you.
oh my God, because I know. And I found some good stuff. And Richard looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "They're hiding stuff because it's on markdown and they want to, or they're hiding the good stuff." And sure enough, you'll find things. If you get behind or you look under. Yeah. I learned that from you, back from your days at Marshall's. The staff hides because they know that it's going to get marked down.
Because the markdowns came every 3 weeks or
Right.
something.
Keeps getting marked down. And then somebody would be like, "How did this survive?"
Oh, hey, these stories we got to save for our impending book.
Both pages in full color.
Both pages in full color and one blank page for note taking. So you read the full color pages.
One's an index.
You take one's an index.
Just blank pages.
Page 1, blank. Page 2, full color. Page
What about
3,
yourself?
notes. So what are we doing on the show today? We got some good shop talk topics to kick off the year, I think, right?
Right. We have. So we're doing our usual nonsense in the beginning, as John told you, with our banter. But
I didn't tell my shoplifting story, but I'm going to save that for a
have a
future.
shoplifting story?
Oh my God, yeah. King's department store. Remember
old were you?
King's? Oh, I want to say that I was like 10 or 11. And
Oh, well, then that's okay.
remember snorkel coats?
Yeah.
Remember those green things,
then
and then
the
the hood
little-
thing, and you look like you were going on an
Not again.
Arctic expedition. So the inside of
John has one of those in the booth.
the inside of the coat had yeah, he did have like a snorkel. The inside had this thing that you could tie so that the coat pulled tight to your body, and it made like a pouch. And back in the day, they used to sell Memorex cassette tapes in a 3-pack. And my sister and I wanted these. We needed cassette tapes, but we didn't have money. We're like, we needed cassette tapes. And so
What, you going to tape off a TV?
we had a tape recorder that one of our grandparents gave us, play record, ka-chunk. And we would record messages to our grandparents, send them the tape. They liked hearing our voice because we didn't call all the time, whatever. So I'm in the store, And I'm looking around, and I just slip.
Let's just stop there. Wouldn't it have been easier to pick up the phone and talk to Grandma and Grandpa for 5 minutes and pay for the phone call?
Yeah, but we wanted a tape recorder.
How long were these tapes?
This was our way of getting the tape recorder. Oh, the tape would be like 10, 15 minutes. We'd talk to Anna and Pap. And after a couple of mailing back and forth, it dropped off. We got our tape recorder, though, with our little microphone and the on-off, the play, record button.
Okay, continue.
So I opened my coat, I'm looking around, and I slide one of these 3-packs in to the little, because I had tied the inside of the thing, and I'm like, wow, that works. I thought, well, why would I stop at 3? It's a 1 3-pack, so I put another 3-pack in, and then another one, and I zip up the coat.
Oh, my God, John.
And I start walking out to the front of and I'm casually leaving the store, and some guy comes up to me and goes, where are the cassette tapes? And I said, aisle 5. Then he just pulls my coat forward, and they all drop out. And I'm like, I just made this face like, how'd they get there? And he just goes, are your mom or dad here? And my dad was with me.
Uh-oh. That was an ass cracking.
Well, no. So surprisingly, my dad talked to the store. They were okay. They're like,
You were
okay.
10.
Yeah, and then he promised that the lesson would be. So I get home, and my parents like, never do this again. I'm like, I'll never do it again. If you want something, just ask for it. I said, okay, I want
9 cassette tapes.
And I started putting a list of stuff I want, and they're like, you can't have this stuff. You have to earn the money to get it. I'm like, let's go all the way back to the cassette tape problem, and that will solve it. But that was
Were you scared?
Yeah, I was petrified. And to this day, well, I think any kid who gets caught doing that at that age, like 10, 11, you just never do it again.
Don't do it again. Will you learn your lesson?
Learn my lesson, yeah.
So we have 2 different shop talks today in between our breaks. One of them is, should you switch careers or get a new job? And there's 5 questions you should ask yourself related to that question as to whether it's really about your career or is it about your situation?
Current situation.
And then the second one, John, what was the second one?
4 ways every company can advance LGBT rights in 2018. Good article. A lot of the stuff I think we all know, but it's good to reiterate it.
Yeah.
And that's why we thought it was good to cue that one up for the top of the year.
Yeah.
So what caught your eye?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
So I have two interesting ones. There's a lot of things that caught my eye over the holiday. The first one, this headline, and I thought it was The Onion at first, but then I went and I kept researching it, and I found there was an awful lot written about it. Apparently, the White House is a dump, according to Trump.
Well, he said that one day, didn't he?
Well, he said
it was like
Trump said he was out playing so much golf because the White House is a dump, and it's infested with rodents, cockroaches, mice, and ants.
Also known as vermin. Right.
So it says the White House is infested with rodents and insects because nature can be so wise. It says that that the White House has been plagued by several rodent and bug issues, which has given us all pause because the president did say that the House was a real dump. So they've gone to Channel 4, this is in D.C., the NBC affiliate, went and looked at all the hundreds of work orders and maintenance orders that they have for the White House. And sure enough, there's a rodent problem, significant rodent problem.
That's been documented for, okay.
Yep, they said that the outbreak is especially alarming. Mice have repeatedly invaded the White House Situation Room, records indicate, forcing officials to request an exterminator and more traps. Over the past 2 years, several mice sightings, cockroach infestations, and ant colonies have been reported. The complaints, they say, are coming quite a bit, and they're down to the point where this big ant colony outside of Chief of Staff John Kelly's office has become such a problem. He just now sends notes that says rodent problem, ant problem in all caps, and sends it to the General Services Administration. That's who handles the White House. So they said they've been dealing with this now for a little while. They said the West Wing sitting room is described as well as having the most severe rodent problem. The second floor landscape also needs to have all the traps cleaned out. Mike Pence has been complaining because it stinks for all the dead mice. Imagine what a dump this is. It was a dump, the White House. They said the infestations also moved to the U.S. Navy mess hall, where reports indicate that mice were running around on all the floors near the formal dining room. And it said Vice President Mike Pence has repeatedly asked for help. Big bold letters again, please check the basement and ground booth for ants, roaches, and rodents. So they said there's been 250 pages of requests to get the rodents fixed. They said also on the request list, though, Melania wants a big screen TV and Donald wants the toilet seat cover changed in his Oval Office. Says the White House maintains that Trump never really called the White House a dump. But they said that Golf Magazine did overhear it, and they did report it in the August edition of their magazine. They said the White House is more than 200 years old, and they said this is nothing new. There's been problems with rodents and infestation for a long time. They said even Harry Truman joked in 1945 that the building remained the crown jewel of the federal prison system.
Well, it's built in a swamp, right?
It's not been renovated since the 1950s, and they said that this is really a rite of passage. They said the rodent problems are nothing new for the 200-year-old building. American presidents have battled unwanted vermin for years, making it a rite of passage for new office holders. Obama's probably left stuff all over. Wouldn't you have dumped a bunch of rats in there?
Jeez, and I suppose the problem will get addressed when a pack of rodents make off with Sarah Huckabee Sanders' peanut butter and jelly sandwich one day, right in front of her. They'll just carry it off the desk. She said, I got to get this sick.
Obviously, Santa didn't bring her a new dress. Did you see the press conference yesterday?
Santa didn't bring her a new dress. Maybe some knockoff makeup kits, right?
With those eyes. She got that wonky eye, the eyeline. I was thinking if Saturday Night Live needed somebody, I could do that job because I'm about her size.
You mean you want to do...
I could throw a wig on and the bad makeup and I could be her.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders in drag. Okay.
That's what I'm going to go as Halloween next year. She's still around. And then the other one I found, quick one, was Walmart reveals the top-selling items sold online in each state for 2017. So they say they do this every year. They look at each state and find out what people are buying the most and what has the most hits. And I thought some of them were interesting. So I pulled on here. If you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, there's a graphic there. And I just picked some of the states based upon where you and I have either lived.
You posted for Alabama crayons.
Crayons. So
Colorado.
So Colorado was peanut M&Ms, and I thought that's probably because of the marijuana.
Yummy. There's probably a dispensary. Right by the dispensary, there's an M&M stand.
But because we're from Connecticut, I didn't know. Ghost in the Shell DVD.
Okay, so
what is that?
Ghost in the Shell is a famous anime. It was a book, an anime book, or a manga, they call it, and then it was a famous animated movie, and then it was remade into a movie with Scarlett Johansson, I think.
Oh, so I was
surprised might be screwing it up, but that is a weird one. So Connecticut residents ordered Ghost in the Shell.
That was the largest online
for Walmart.
For Walmart. But I laughed at Hawaii, the Barbie farmer doll. Or how about Illinois, erasers?
Well, no, Idaho was My Little Pony mini collection.
Yeah.
And Illinois was erasers, right? And
Yeah,
Michigan
Illinois is
had
erasers.
lavender-scented cleaning products.
Right.
And Minnesota,
Flaming
Hot Cheetos.
Right. Is there another state you'd like to know? There's another graphic on the next page. But
Well, what about Texas? Do you have Texas on your
Texas
list?
is on there. TV wall mounts. Texas was the #1 thing.
Utah personal travel care kit, Vermont sweet canned corn,
Can you
Del
imagine?
Monte sweet canned corn. West Virginia, My Life as
a
Dolls.
doll.
Wyoming could be
I thought
John.
that was a play.
Wyoming could be John's state. That's a flannel
Flannel
shirt.
shirts. I put that in for
There
John.
he is. Yeah.
That's why I put that in there. I obviously didn't do all 50 states, but I put them in. I don't know if there was any other states you wanted to
But the Wyoming was watermelon flavored gum.
That was North Dakota.
That was North Dakota. Watermelon flavored gum.
Right. And then
North Carolina mayonnaise.
Washington
Oh,
State.
New Mexico's classic.
This one I think also
Okay.
because of the pot. Washington State. I knew a lot of kids in college that would get into this when they were smoking the pot.
Can I guess it?
Something you wouldn't normally eat on its own.
Whipped cream.
Close. Can of vanilla frosting.
Oh, yum-o. Yum-o. Make it
Look at John in the booth laughing.
Make it chocolate. If it's the Duncan Hines or that Betty Crocker, that thick, that spoonful of that, you'd go whoosh, sugar high.
Ohio grape flavored drink mix. Yuck. Oregon humidifiers. Plastic hangers in Pennsylvania where I live.
No metal hangers.
So that caught my eye. But that's Walmart reveals their top selling items.
I like the
That would have been a fun Tim's list.
Yeah, had we been on doing Tim's list, that would be impossible, unless you think of guessing any of those items on a Tim's list. They're so not connected to the state they're from, right?
The only one I think I would have
Guessed.
might have been close to Colorado because of munchies, right? I mean, we kind of laughed about that. But other than that, I thought Illinois with erasers was odd. I'm looking
Hawaii,
at Louisiana root beer extract.
And the Hawaii, the farm doll, whatever that. I mean, in
Glue
Hawaii,
sticks in Maryland.
glue sticks in Maryland.
Yeah.
Okay,
So what caught your eye?
mine couldn't be any more different. It is an architectural story, and it's an Apple story. So Apple opened a new store in Chicago on Michigan Avenue. I guess is Michigan Avenue near the Miracle
Mile.
Miracle Mile. Like, that's where all the big stores are.
It's a great shopping.
Yes, I completely agree. And apparently the new store is struggling with what they call an unexpected adversary, Chicago's wintry climate. So you design a store, so it's a glass box, and the roof resembles the lid of one of their laptops. So it curves down to the edges. So it's flat, 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 and then it curves at the edges down.
Was that the picture of it there?
That's the unwinterized version of the store.
So it almost looks like a or a mid-century modern.
Very much so. Very much
East Van der Rohe sort of house.
Perfectly, actually, great
Lots of
comparison.
glass.
Lots of glass, few verticals.
Very Cupertino, very un-Chicago.
So frozen chunks of snow and icicles sliding off the riverfront building's gutterless, laptop-esque roof pose a serious threat to pedestrians. The dangerous condition forced Apple employees to close off portions of Pioneer Court with caution tape and deploy signs reading, "Watch for falling snow and ice." Do you not think that the architect, and look at how they did this graphic. So if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, they pulled up a graphic of a picture of the building, and someone circled the trouble spots.
The whole thing.
They circle the whole roof, and they say, "Fancy roof." And then off the left and the right, they have roped off areas and stuff.
Well, yeah, because that stuff can slide off. The ice will slide off and kill you. That happens in New York, right? On buildings where that's why they have the scaffolding sometimes so things don't fall.
So you don't get killed. So the falling ice isn't the only problem. The severe cold that hits Chicago in the deep winter has cracked some of the actual glass. It's called structural glass. And when that structural glass cracks, it's like carbon fiber. You have to rebuild it, and it's very expensive to replace. And on top of that, the building's fancy see-through walls also cost Apple some headaches and a fair dose of negative PR. In the fall, when it was reported that a higher than normal number of migrating birds were fatally colliding with the store, the company ultimately dimmed its interior lights down at night to reduce the bird strikes during the peak migratory season. Even before glass was installed, the low-slung structure at 401 North Michigan proved to be a bird magnet. Gulls congregating on the roof during construction left behind an unsightly layer of guano. Guano, I love who come up with that. And prompted Apple to install a series of pyramid-shaped bird deterrent devices. So that was one of them. And then,
so I guess they're not going to be using that design again. That's really just stupid.
Each city usually has this unique design, and that one was for that. And then,
where do you tinkle? I was looking at that whole thing. There's no little private area.
So I think
or do you go downstairs?
I think there's that looked like a.
You know where they always go away? They disappear when you go to an Apple store and you don't know where they go. They go in the back somewhere. Yeah. And they disappear.
A black door, and they come back.
That reminds me, is there a bathroom at Apple stores?
Yes, there is. Yeah.
I've never seen it.
You have to ask. You don't. It's not.
Have you used one?
No. I've never done it, but I've heard people ask, and then a tenant will say, "Go to this left door," and they open it up, and it looks like there's like a little vestibule or something, but there is a bathroom.
Try that next time.
Now, this is a minor one, and I just saw it on TV, and I was wondering if you had seen it. Now, John, I didn't put this in the deck, so maybe you could give me some help here. I want you to look for Gus Kenworthy Pride ad. He's a.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen this for Head and Shoulders? It's a Head and Shoulders Old Spice TV commercial featuring Gus Kenworthy, who's a gay out downhill skier. Is he a slalom?
Telluride, Colorado.
And the commercial caught me by surprise. We were watching it upstate, and suddenly he's talking about how proud he is to represent America, how proud he is for his community, and they show him holding a rainbow flag up.
Is it the one where you see his bear behind?
I didn't see a bear behind.
Yeah, that's the one you got to look at. You go to his Instagram. His Instagram has him in the snow nudes.
Oh, I saw that.
Snowboarding.
I saw that on
Little Heine.
No, the TV spot has him bare-chested holding up the
rainbow flag
thing, and I was just struck by the fact that that's a major consumer packaged goods brand, and they're
Head and Shoulders.
Yeah, and they're literally just putting it in as if it's part of this Pride in the Olympics. Oh,
here it is. Here. Is this the video?
I'm Gus Kenworthy, and I'm a professional free skier from Colorado.
Is this the making of it? No, this isn't the one.
I don't know if this is the one.
I think to be part of the campaign because I knew that I was.
Oh, this is like a make behind the scenes.
Honestly, I'm really proud of myself for coming out. It was really hard for me, and I think that it was something I didn't think I was.
This is not the same one. It's okay, John. There was it's a 30-second spot they had. I should have sent you the link, but anybody could check it out. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's just Head and Shoulders, and I was like, wow. So that was the other thing that that caught my eye. It was so seamless, and I didn't even miss a beat. And then I had to catch myself and say, wait a minute, he's actually.
Well, it's one of those things, and what I liked about the ad, and you and I have said this, and when you and I used to do the work for Subaru, if you're in the know, you knew what was going on. He
the dots.
He said, family's important to me, my family's important to me, my community's important to me. He was
rainbow
holding up
flag, but you had to know that.
If you didn't know it or you didn't pay attention, it was just like, oh, family's important, my community's important. So I immediately saw that, and I thought the same thing you did. I said, wow. And then I was wondering who it was for, and then at the end, it was Head and Shoulders.
Which is owned by Gillette, I think, right? Yeah. Gillette's Head and Shoulders. Okay, so that was what caught our eye.
Cool. Business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
I don't know how I don't know this guy. This could be a segment in itself.
Wait, I don't know how I don't know this guy? What?
Yeah, or either of us know this guy. Now, you may, but this could be a whole segment in itself. There's 5 pages of stuff, and this took the most time this week was to me to whittle this down to try to make sense of it. Anyway, the guy's name is Earl William Madman Muntz. Do you know him? Born January 3rd, 1914. He died at 73 years old in 1987.
Muntz.
He's Muntz, M-U-N-T-Z.
Muntz.
An American businessman and engineer who sold and promoted cars and consumer electronics in the United States from the 1930s until 1987. He was a pioneer in television commercials with his oddball madman persona, an alter ego who generated publicity with his unusual costumes, his stunts, his outrageous claims. He also pioneered car stereos by creating the Muntz stereo pack, better known as a 4-track cassette, which was the precursor to 8-track cassettes, were developed by Lear Industries for Learjets. He invented the practice become to be known as muntzing, which I never heard of, which involves simplifying otherwise complicated electronic devices. He produced and marketed the first black and white television receivers to sell for less than $100. He's credited with the earliest functional widescreen projection TVs. He was the first one to sell a cell phone for under $100. He made a deal with
How have we not
Sony.
heard of this guy before? This is interesting.
He's credited with coining the abbreviation TV for television because what he used to do for his
local car ads,
and whatever, he would do skywriting, and he was selling television sets. So what he would do is he would do skywriting, Muntz televisions, and when he would watch it, by the time they got television spelled out with the planes, it was all fuzzy. So he said, let's got to shorten that TV.
Wait a minute. This is the guy who came up with the acronym for television?
That's
TV?
what it says. Now, there's some claims that say, I'm really abbreviating this, but they said that his ads, I'll read it here, but it says that although it was during his final years, it says, he decided he was selling blank VCRs and doing all this stuff, and when he's doing the skywriting, he said that he coined the phrase TVs, but they said that there was an affiliate in Los Angeles that also used TV, but they said he was the one who coined it and made it part of our vernacular. But so it goes on. He did all kinds of crazy, crazy things. Developed a car called the Muntz. They only made 400 of them. One just went through auction. They sold for about $5,000. One just went through auction for $150,000.
Well, he only made, what do you say, made 40 or something like that?
Right. So then in his final years, he died of lung cancer. He was married 7 times. Phyllis Diller was one of his girlfriends.
Not wife, girlfriend. Okay,
girlfriend.
Phyllis Diller.
He drove a customized Lincoln Continental with a television installed on the dashboard. He said it helped him drive better. And
I'm not sure how I read that.
At the time of his death, he was selling cellular phones for less than $1,000, when most cell phones at the time were around $3,000. This was in 1985. He also sold satellite dishes in motorhomes, and as I said, cellular phones, VCRs. He did. They said he pioneered all this electronic stuff, and he did it with his crazy antics. And this is the part I thought was interesting. Talk about a small world. So it says, the madman method pioneered by Muntz was later copied by other retailers, including New York area electronics chain Crazy Eddie. In the Crazy Eddie TV commercials, radio personality Jerry Carroll, your neighbor, leapt at the camera and jumped around while jabbering at a high speed, always ending with the line, "Crazy Eddie, our prices are insane." As a result of the Crazy Eddie commercials, of course, he became an 80s icon. Crazy Eddie even appeared in the film Splash. And I laugh because he's your neighbor.
Yeah, Jerry. Jerry's great.
And watches the show.
Yeah.
But they said that Crazy Eddie and there was another guy, Cal
Picked up
Worthington.
the Muntz
They
style.
were based upon the Muntz style of advertising. All these outrageous claims. They said they always had pretty girls around, all provocative, lots of innuendo.
So you and I should definitely do more on this, and we should definitely have known this because we have a fascination with local car ads to begin with, and this must have been.
Well, it reminded me of Ernie Bach too. Ernie Bach would do that craziness up in New England, Bach Automotive, because what he would say is, I buy retail and sell you wholesale or something like that. But Ernie's was always, we don't have mortgages, so we can, essentially had no floor plan, so you're going to get a cheaper car. And you have that crazy donkey Kramer.
Wait, I have no mortgage, so
You have no mortgages.
but people would have to understand that dealerships.
So there was no interest or floor
Right,
plan
because
on the car.
they just own the land
They owned it
outright,
right
and whatever the car
You'd
parks.
own the car outright. So there was no floor plan on the car, meaning interest.
It is the cost was the
So
cost.
the cost was the cost, so you could sell them
God.
cheaper.
All right, we're starting off the new year with Deep Discount. We want to thank them for being a partner of ours back in 2017. You were in 2018, and visit our site focusgroupradio.com and look for their logo, the shark, the pirate, and click on that and go through because we get credit for it and do your shopping that way. And tons of stuff to see at Deep Discount. It's the post-Christmas sale. Or after Christmas sale is the correct way to say it. Now, I went on and I looked for a couple things. I was looking for some TV. I had a Jones about a show I used to watch as a kid called The Magician with Bill Bixby. Remember this at all?
No, wasn't Bill Bixby like the Hulk?
Played the Hulk, exactly.
Yeah.
But before that, I think he played this
Magician?
It was like a 1 or 2 season show, and it took place at the Magic Mansion in Los Angeles. It was all around this magician stuff. I couldn't find it there. I couldn't find it anywhere, so it's probably not even available on DVD. And then I started poking around. I looked for Quincy MD, another favorite show I used to watch with my mom. Jack Klugman, who played a coroner. Remember Quincy?
My grandmother loved that show.
Did you look for anything, or what'd you get?
So I different than you. I went to the After Christmas link at Deep Discount, and I found a DVD of Heart. And the reason it's so Heart, the band Heart, and they have a DVD out called Alive in Seattle, and it's one of their concerts they did in 2002. And again, what a great price! It's $10.65.
What's their big song?
Barracuda, Crazy
Barracuda,
for You,
okay, yeah.
Crazy on You, Straight On.
Is this like a music video?
So it's a concert. And so what I like about this stuff is, I've said this before, you'll do it with movies. There was a movie I was going to pick, but it was not. I'm going to wait until it gets in stock. It was out of stock.
Okay.
But there was one of those jukebox musicals that I thought I would pick, but different, where you'll sometimes put Star Trek on just to have in the background.
You'll put music.
Things like this I'll do because you can't find this anywhere else. It's not on YouTube. You can't find it necessarily just streaming somewhere. They're not playing it on TV. But if you're a fan of a certain group, and this one particularly stood out to me, Heart, there's other ones there obviously, but the fact that they had the concert available and it was part of the sale, I thought was a pretty cool thing. I could have picked 2 or 3 others, but I do like Heart. And I've said this before, if you could go to, you can find this on YouTube, but the Kennedy Center Honors, which the Trumps did not go to this year.
They were nice.
But in 2012, Heart did the final song, Stairway to Heaven, for Led Zeppelin. And it is by far the best rendition of Stairway to Heaven I've ever seen.
Really? All right.
So that was what I picked.
So, and you always pick great stuff, because right before the holidays, you also picked another music.
It was the Midnight Special.
Yeah, Midnight Special. And I remember jotting that down, and because that would be a fun one to catch. So new releases, there are 2 this week, and both of them I would like to see. And the first one is Battle of the Sexes, and it's the story of Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. Now, I think Steve, it was Steve Carell. I can't pronounce. What am I?
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell played Bobby Riggs. And I just remember seeing the trailers and thinking it looked great. Now, you actually know Billie Jean King.
Yeah.
Ish.
Ish. I mean, my favorite quick story about Billie Jean was the time when Holly.
Yeah.
When we went to an event with Martina, and it was just a small cocktail party. And I said to her, Holly, just mingle around and don't be starstruck or anything, but Billie Jean King's going to be there. Because for women, Billie Jean King as a feminist, as somebody who pushed for Title IX, for equal pay, it's a big deal. So here's a woman who went to Yale and Wharton,
Holly.
thinking is smart. Smart girl, Holly. And I said to her at one point, Billie Jean was closer than you and I are here. And I said, there's Billie Jean. what? I said, Billie Jean King's right behind you. Just, say hello. And she looks and says, I don't see her. I said, she's right behind you. She looks at me. She says, she's not black. I said, what are you talking about? She thought it was Billie Jean that Michael Jackson sang.
It's not my
lover. I said, oh, boy. That yell was nothing but a big party with a $500,000
cover charge. We should buy Holly Battle of the Sexes just to get her on the same page. Anyway, the movie looks terrific. It did get good reviews, and I do want to see it. And the other new release is a Tom Cruise biopic called American Made. And he plays Barry Seal, a TWA pilot recruited by the CIA to fly spy missions over South America. But then he gets involved in the Medellin cartel. Did I pronounce that right?
Drugs.
He's running drugs, yeah. So
you had mentioned this to me, and I did not hear about this. After Tom Cruise went a little crazy, I kind of boycotted Cruise a little bit. But this sounds like a great movie.
Yeah, he actually got pretty good write-ups for his performance in this. So both of these new releases, I think, are definitely ones you might want to put on your list. Both are on Blu-ray as well. Battle of the Sexes with Billie Jean King, about Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs, and American Made, about this TWA pilot who ends up being, I guess, a drug mule and a pilot for the cartel.
So head over to focusgroupradio.com. That's where we'd still like you to go. Click on the deep discount logo and start shopping away. Right now, obviously, they have their after Christmas sale, but there's always lots of great prices on lots of great items every day. Right, Garrett?
Thanks, Deep Discount.
See, things keep moving. Hey, stay with us. We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got our first shop talk, which is, should you switch careers or get a new job? And there's 5 questions you should ask yourself to make that determination. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Brought to you by Volkswagen. Visit VW.com to learn more. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
Sure is Santana. Welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash with Tim Bennett. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2018. Our first shop talk of the new year is actually an article called Should You Switch Careers or Get a New Job? And this came to us from Monster.com. Not a bad time of year to look at this this thought process, as if you want to use the new year as a stepping stone to make change happen, right?
Yeah.
What's that?
No, sometimes you and I talked about the New Year's resolution thing in general.
Oh, yeah.
About it, whether you have a goal or not.
I prefer it as the fall.
We both prefer for some reason, you and I both decided September was a better time to take stock.
After Labor Day.
And a lot of times, if you have a goal or you have a decision that you've made about whether it's losing weight or you're going to exercise more or whatever, do it when you feel like you've come to the decision you're going to do it. But a lot of people use J1 as...
Oh, I like that. I like that. I like J1. So the author of this piece said after several years, even a decade in a particular field, you might feel that you're ready for something new. You may even engage a career coach to help you figure out what you want to do next, but you may not need to start from scratch, which was the premise of the article. And a career coach named Jessica Sweet says in the article that, sometimes it's just a matter of tweaking your job or staying within what you're doing and ask yourself a couple of fundamental questions. And the first one was, if I could do this work in a different environment, would I enjoy it?
Right.
I like the question because it basically pinpoints the notion of, do you actually like what you're doing? And maybe you love what you're doing, but you don't like where you're doing it. Is that your...
You don't like your boss or the environment, but you do like the job.
Yeah.
It's just the environment's wrong. And so the verdict there, right, was that if it's pretty clear that if it's people, places, or things and not the actual work, it might be time for a new job, not necessarily a new career.
I think that kicking off with this question is the most important one because this is probably this is the lowest hanging fruit, right? This is the one that you can really honestly answer for yourself very quickly. If you love what you do, but you do not like where you're doing it, that is a clear ding,
you don't get along with your team, you don't like the people. It's what Kelly McDonald used to say to us is that I work with you, but I don't have to be your best friend. I don't have to love you, but...
You do have to get along and get stuff done.
Right, and if you don't get along with your team, then
How about the next question?
So the next one said, and I thought of you about this one. It said, if tomorrow I was told I couldn't work in my field anymore, how would I feel? You and I had this discussion. You've had 2 ad agencies previous or prior.
Yep.
Third one now with me, with the Triberry. But you had said to me that you got bored doing the same work over and you were bored doing the same work over
Solving
and over.
the same problems over and over.
I thought about this with you now, whether that would still be relevant. Is it, so for you, are you excited about what you did, or do you still get excited about it, or is it boredom? And if it was boredom, was it time for you to do something different?
All right, so each agency I owned, one was 9 years I've had the agency, the other one was like 10 or 11. You know, I guess what would change it up if you're an advertising person is new accounts and new brands and new challenges to solve. But, you know, even then, and you and I both talk about this a lot, the problems all were the same. It's you know, how many times can you put that puzzle together, right? Now, when it came time for what we do here on the focus group, we did face this problem in early 2016 when we got the call from our programming director over at Sirius. They're like, well, we love you guys to death, but guess what? Channel's going away.
We're getting rid of LGBT, Latino, Hispanic, and bringing on Bannon.
And Andy.
Bringing on Radio Andy and Steve Bannon.
On gay program going to Andy. So that question, by the way, it is germane to what I'm saying, because that was one of those days where I just felt terrible because, and I often say this to people, you know you love what you do when if they take it away from you, you're sad. Because I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And like, we figured it out. We were back on the air. But that would be if I were back in advertising and someone said you can't do this anymore, I wouldn't be totally heartbroken because I'd already solved the problem. Do you feel the same way?
But then you say to yourself, but that's what you know.
Yeah.
That's your career. So do you still like doing marketing? Do you still like doing advertising? But I thought that was a tough question to ask, because it really does come to the point of, do you hate it? Do you dislike it? I think for me, I thought it would make more sense if you were an accountant and you were just constantly doing numbers all day long, the same sort of...
Lawyer maybe too would be...
Right, and you say to yourself, you know what, I'm done. I'm tired of defending blank, or I'm tired of...
I've done one too many financial
spreadsheets,
whatever.
Right? And then you say you want to do something new. But if you've done it for 30 years...
Well, here's the verdict she gives is if you were excited once, but now only feel dread, boredom, or worse, it might be time to talk to a career coach. What was your rule of thumb? If you dread Monday on Friday, get out. Right?
Yeah.
If you dread Monday, and
some people say on Sunday they dread Monday. On Friday I started dreading Monday.
Get out, right?
But for me, when I look back on it, I loved the job.
You're very good at it too.
But I did not particularly care for the
management. No, you love the act. If you only had to deal with the true job,
yeah,
you loved it. But no one told you had to run interference at the C-suite level, and you had to be a camp counselor, and you had to do all this other stuff, and the politics is a real big one.
Politics are a huge issue.
So another question she would have you ask on this, is it time to change a job article we're looking at, do I know what my perfect promotion would be? And again, this is a very funny question because we all say, I want to do this, I want to do that, or I think if I just became, head of the department or whatever, but to really pinpoint the perfect promotion means you have to know what you want to do, right?
Right, and knowing if you're on the right path to get there. And I think sometimes, I saw in my times, even as a headhunter, someone might say, someone might be a manager of, a bank manager, for instance, of a branch. And they say, you know what, I want to be vice president of lending. Well, that's a huge leap to go from being... working with commercial lenders in a branch for small business to say I want to be a vice president in the headquarters. And sometimes you would just look at somebody and say there's so many steps you need to do before you're just going to leap over there. Now, could you get there? Yeah, but I think that's one of the issues here of how many promotions do you need, or what do you need to do? What steps do you need to lay out to get there? And sometimes I think it's unrealistic.
That was her verdict too, right? Determining your future goals can help you see whether you're on the right path. And I think that kind of gets that path thing you're talking about of understanding that there is a process to get to that position, which may involve knowledge of other areas.
You have to be self-aware. I remember there was a guy that worked at a small regional office that the position of CMO came open. and he thought he was qualified.
Chief marketing officer, really.
And I just thought, are you this much? You're either this much. You have no self-awareness, or you have no idea of what the job entails.
It's B. They did not have
You're not handing out a $5,000 co-op ad. I mean, it's a much bigger issue. Number 4 was, what is it about my job that makes me unhappy?
Now read the next line.
And it says, can you pinpoint the things that are driving splinters underneath your fingernails, or is it a wholesale sense of doom?
It's like it's nails on a chalkboard. I hate my job.
I thought this differently. I mean, this is one of those do yourself a
pro and con chart. How many people really sit down and do a SWOT or a pro and con? I mean,
I've done
them
them
mentally. I don't know if I sit down and actually write it out, but
no, I think we all do them. But I think another way to look at this is what makes you happy about your job. Yeah. And I think then
does it give you, yeah.
But I was kind of taken back a little bit by what's unhappy. But I think the SWOT analysis, the strengths, weakness, opportunity, threats, however you want to. There's other acronyms people use for things. But if you did that and wrote down everything, the positive, negatives, you and I did that about the show.
Oh yeah.
What do we like? What's the difficult part? Money. Sponsors. Right? I mean, it's
all the stuff that trips most people up. Yeah.
Right. And rather than everybody saying you work 1 hour a day.
And then the last question she asked in this article, which we've been talking about here for a bit, called, let me go back to the headline, should you switch careers or get a new job? The last question she would have you ask, or the author would have you ask, is, does the work environment I want exist? Sometimes, depending on the nature of the work, the market is shifting and people are finding that it just doesn't exist for them anymore. This was kind of a fascinating one to me. Does the ideal job and the company you would want to work for even exist in the geographic area you're in? And that's a way bigger problem than switching jobs, because that's a relocation, if it happens at all, right?
I want to be a supermodel.
Well, hey, look, even me, right? I just finished this animation thing. Most of the people that in the industry work in Los Angeles or San Francisco. It's not much in. I mean,
I was surprised by that, because can't you?
You could work remotely.
But I would think if any job, that one would be one, unless it's the whole thing about collaboration. You're all within the little cube field.
You got it.
And
I asked when I had a tour of Disney Studios, I asked the recruiter who gave us the tour, super nice woman who used to work at DreamWorks. I said, "Do you have remote animators or people that work remotely?" She smiled and shook her head. She goes, "It doesn't work that way." She said, "We want to be able to stand up, walk to someone, get some feedback, and go back. And you want to be in the mix. You want to be.
I'm having troubles doing this scene. Do you have any tips? Oh,
do this, and this, and they find it's just far more productive. I think the game companies and smaller studios actually allow telecommuting and working from different parts.
I find that though. I'm glad to hear that, only because there was a trend. I think Yahoo did it, and a few other larger companies are still doing it, where people are all working at home.
Yeah.
And it's bad enough now, people on their phones all the time, not paying attention or interacting with people. I miss the interaction working out of the house. I do miss the interaction.
It's random.
But to be able to be at an office and be able to have to interact on a number of things, or at least get to know people beyond, hey, did you get that spreadsheet done, or I have a question about, column 3. I don't know. I just think being in the office is a good thing.
Hey, look, I'm like you. We both have workflow that allows us to, not necessarily be in an office. I do miss that environment because of the random stuff that happens. And the work is one thing, but it's the random personal stuff that used to be the hilarious parts of the day, right?
Yeah. Hey, we've got Don in Alabama. Don, did you buy crayons? Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Don.
Come to Atlanta. The CG animation work here is starting to explode.
In Atlanta?
Yeah, I've got friends now working for Disney and Marvel at the massive complex outside the airport, and they are looking for all skill sets.
Really? Atlanta. This is news to me, Don. Seriously, Atlanta.
I'm not sure John's an Atlanta kind of gal.
I told you, I'll take you to Swinging Richards. I'll convert you for 3 or 4 religions.
That was
I wore that T-shirt this weekend, by the way. Again, thank you. I get so many comments about that, even around the house.
I still have my Alabama gift box T-shirts as well, and they are there. And you got Swinging Richards. That's right.
So, but yeah, so I mean, that is a good question, though. So if John decided that, yes, that's what he wanted to do, would you prefer to go to Atlanta, John, or would you want to go to California?
Well, Atlanta on the East Coast would be great because
easier back and forth.
Back and you could visit friends. It's not the whole 3-hour time difference, right? I had no idea. I'm going to look into this, Don. I had no idea.
Atlanta is now the third largest film production city in the country.
The third largest?
Yeah, it will surpass New York this year in total volume of production.
I'm guessing L.A. is the first. Who do you think?
Yeah, L.A. is number 1, New York number 2, Atlanta number 3. You got to realize 95% of the Marvel movies and a lot of the Disney stuff is now done in Atlanta.
Wow. And Don, as you're saying it, you go out to L.A., limited space, the studios are there, but it's high cost of living. So Atlanta is a little different cost of living structure. I mean, it's not volumes, it's not hugely cheaper, but it's definitely an easier city to probably live and commute in than LA. What a cool thing. I'm going to check this out, Don.
Check it out. And there's always New Zealand. Weta's always looking.
Well, New Zealand.
Yeah, Weta Digital. I know they're the guys that did all the Lord
All
of
the
the
Americans
Rings
are going there. The New Zealanders are getting upset, apparently.
Yeah, they hate us.
Yeah, they do. I was reading that. Thanks, Don.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year, Don. Thanks.
And it looks like we've got friends from Idaho, John. Kip and Mike from Idaho.
Favorite states and some of our favorite people. Hey, Kip and Mike, how are you?
Hello. Hi, we just ate at the Little Rock Cafe across from the Harkness and we're on our way down to our rental cabin in Lava Hot Springs thinking about you.
Did you get the cinnamon buns?
No, I'm on a diet, but I had the bread. Those are bigger than your head.
I know. Those buns were unbelievable. What was the name of that place again? The Little River Cafe?
Little Rock Cafe.
Little Rock Cafe.
Also, I got just a quick story about we got the man grapes. I ordered them on the 18th of December, and they didn't come. And then I remember the last time we listened to you before the end of the year, you scared me to death. We were on our way down to Lava. I had just ordered them, and then you started saying, wow, I wonder how much these things will cost to ship. Okay, they were $59 because they were 50% off, and it was $40 to ship that they have.
Oh my! We wondered about. They're heavy. I mean, that's a solid product.
Yeah.
I don't think the UPS man was in love with us that night. That was a heavy. It was a small box, but it was heavy.
Yes, it was very heavy. Did you? And I saw that you cooked on it. How'd your steaks come out?
So wow. I got to tell you, I've got to learn a little bit about the temperature. It's a little different than what I'm used to on the regular grill, but. I know you're not a fan, Tim, but the steer marks are beautiful.
I just don't care. But I know aesthetically it looks pretty.
Yeah, I always tell Mike, I'm like, you eat with your eyes first, so make it look nice. And I bought a set of 3 because if he ever cooks salmon at the same time I'm cooking my ribeye, I insist that he put that smelly thing as far away from my ribeye as possible. I hate salmon.
That's the separation of church and state, right?
Yeah, fishing.
Surf and turf, yeah.
So are you guys going to go to the Lava Hot Springs down there? What are you doing down there?
What we do is once a year, but this will be our 3rd year, there's a KOA campground, Tim, that actually has 5 brand new little cabins, and they are outfitted with plumbed-in natural gas grill, Weber grill on the back deck, a propane fire pit, screen TV, Wi-Fi, and it's right above the river. If you get the one we got, number 5, it's just so cool. And we plan it so there's nobody there. And I just called the lady. She said, yep, you guys are the only one in all 5 cabins, so it'll be a nice little quiet getaway.
What a cool thing.
Go to Hot Springs and grill and just hang out.
How cold is it there?
It's 36. It's warmer than Savannah, Georgia, for heaven's sake. And so this is going to be our 4th anniversary, wedding anniversary little getaway.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
John and I were upset that we didn't get to go into the springs. Yeah, we were on a pretty tight.
Well, we got late. We were late.
Yeah, pretty.
Yeah,
but we did enjoy the massive cinnamon bun.
It was all that time in the Comic City and all of its magnetic character.
You are so right. Hey guys, happy anniversary! Thanks for your call and happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thanks.
Okay, here's all the best to you, and we love you.
Thank you, guys.
Send us pictures of the hot springs.
And this new
Yeah,
cabin.
we'll do.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye-bye. So we'll go.
Nice.
You know, Kip and Mike, when we did our Denver to Seattle all-track wagon test drive, they made Idaho an experience that was totally unique. We had such a
Loved
great
it.
time with them, and the Potato Museum, Atomic City, the Harkness, was it the Harkness Inn?
Hotel. That's where they are, where the
And
restaurant
across the
is.
street was that fantastic. And they literally, the cinnamon buns had come out that morning, and they were like,
They were great.
that thing was enormous.
I forgot to tell you, my Uber driver in Rehoboth this weekend is from there.
Oh, really?
Again, small world. And we were talking about Idaho. He's like, what did you do there? I told him everything we did. He laughed. He came to visit on the East Coast. He used to live in Manhattan, moved to Idaho to raise his kids. And a friend invited him to Rehoboth. He goes, I went swimming here in the summer, and I thought
and he fell in love.
Ended up moving out of Idaho. But yeah, I loved it out there. And
Well, and as I said, a lot of the special part of Idaho was Kip and Mike.
Kip and Mike were fun.
You have to have those guys on your right shoulder.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to, on our Facebook page, Focus Group Radio, I'm going to post both of the shop talks. This one was, should you switch careers or get a new job? We're going to take a quick break, and I'll post the other one as well. But the second topic that John found for us were 4 ways every company can advance LGBT rights in 2018. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to talk about things that businesses can do to help advance LGBT rights in this crazy environment we're in. Stay with us.
Brought to you by Volkswagen. Visit VW.com to learn more. Now back to the Focus Group with Tim and John.
Because he has a lot of chutzpah.
An entertaining look at the world of business.
Heads are spinning, heads are spinning.
Listen, laugh, and learn.
I am not gay. I never have been gay.
That's perverse.
Heads are spinning. Drill, baby, drill, baby.
Welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash with Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is our website, and that has all the information about the platforms we're on, both video and audio. And now we have our second shop talk, that Tim actually highlighted before we took our quick little VW break, and it's 4 ways every company can advance LGBT rights in 2018. This is a topic that is probably far more important than it would have been if we had a different administration, but we don't. This is the reality we have. And as in all things in life, some things are 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? And I think with this particular administration, we have to be careful that the 1 step back is not too dramatic. Is that the way to put it? I don't.
Yeah.
Because the Trump Justice Department recently contradicted many years of equal employment opportunity commissions and their perception of the non-discrimination clause applying to LGBT people. 30 states still lack basic protections for employment, housing, and public accommodations. And so let's kick it off with the first one, which has been I should say it this way, this has been a golden, the holy grail for a number of years, if not 2 decades now, at least, right? There's been a number of attempts to get a bill through Congress. ENDA was the last one, right? And it's the push for non-discrimination laws. And a large majority of Americans, 72%, support non-discrimination protections for LGBTQ people, and nearly all of the Fortune 500 and 68% of small businesses do as well, because they know that diverse staff yields innovative results. That one, to me, it's a short little entry because it just seems pretty straightforward. But getting that legislation passed has, for some reason, been... Well, Barney Frank advanced it last time, was ENDA, right?
And what I had written in a side note was, and this is the argument you always hear from the right, I guess, or from people that aren't supportive. Well, you want special rights. No, I just want equal rights. I'm an American just like you are. I contribute to this country and pay taxes like everyone else. I just want to be treated the same as everyone else. I just want equal rights. I don't want special rights.
You want equal rights.
I just want equal rights. And that's where this whole nonsense, first of all, being LGBT is not a lifestyle. Being a vegetarian is a lifestyle. Being healthy is a lifestyle. Being LGBT, it's like being black's not a lifestyle. So this whole nonsense of you want special rights and your lifestyle, blah, 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 that's not what this is. But that's an education that needs to happen. But companies, you've always said companies are a lot further ahead than governments.
The interesting thing about rights and about that one is the bottom line drives a lot of interesting stuff. You would not suspect that a passion or a push to make a company more efficient or to make profits increase means better it's a funny little path, right? Like capitalism could lead to better diversity.
Number 2 is a simple one. It was like your company can declare that you're open to all.
Yeah.
And that's just creating an accepting environment, making sure that all your policies have gender equity and non-discrimination written into their EEOC policies, and that you serve the public and you serve everyone in the public, and make sure that you let people know you're open for business and you're open to serve everybody, and you hire a diverse workforce, because when you have a diverse workforce, you usually end up with a better result. Because of all the different points of view.
I'm going to do a shameful plug for one of our good friends here on the focus group, Mashelle Williams, who's the head of diversity at Volkswagen. If you visit our YouTube page, we actually isolated an interview we did with her at Out and Equal in Philadelphia this past October, where she talks with me and Tim about just the broadening definition of diversity, how much it's changed, and how important it is to a company like VW, and how many years she's watched this evolution. It's a great discussion. One of my favorite parts of that interview, by the way, is when you had her list all the brands. It's a cute. It's one of those little moments that I love. And you're both ticking off all the
Lamborghini, Audi.
And you're like, that's not a bad park. That's not a bad car.
Lot. Not a bad car in the lot.
Anyway, it's Mashelle Williams, and you could find her on the our executive summary section of the YouTube page. It's a smart and intelligent conversation that she had with us, and it really, I think it exemplifies what Tim says. When you're open for business, it really makes such a big difference, right? This next one is something we've all been watching in the news for a long time. Fight discriminatory bathroom bills. We all know about the one that was roundly defeated in North Carolina, or how do I put this? It was passed and they wanted to repeal it. It was some half-assed repeal.
Right, and they have some sort of moratorium until 2020.
But the business community clearly stood behind the LGBT community on this one. 59 businesses signed an amicus brief in the court case that was dealing with this. Texas is another matter entirely. I mean, they actually had a session of their state legislature go into overdrive, or a special session, just to hash out and argue this ridiculous.
Well, I thought you were going to read the first sentence there, which...
Go ahead.
Well, it essentially says hostile state legislatures in 2018 continue to ignore big issues like education, immigration, and economy, and instead focus on targeting transgender youth and adults, dictating what bathroom you can use. I still don't understand that. You remember back in the day in the 80s, you go to a club, it was unisex bathroom, whatever. Do you care who's in the stall next to you?
And frankly, in Europe, often European bathrooms, you go in and it's full door. Ceiling to floor, they don't care who's in. You do your thing, and you meet at the wash basin to wash your hands, and you want to get out of there. I don't hang out. Do you hang out in bathrooms? No. It's the last place on planet Earth I want to hang out in.
Only straight old men do, looking for dick.
I am not gay. Larry Craig. I never have been
Craig's
gay.
hang out in bathrooms.
So let's all keep our eyes on those bathroom bills. And what's the last one?
The fourth one, and I probably mixed this with the second one. So the second one, as I mentioned before, was declare to the public that you're open for business.
You kept them separate. You did.
And this one is so this is what John was referring to with Mashelle. This is internal, your internal practices. Make sure you build an inclusive and diverse workforce.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
So
we're part of number 2. We're VW's part of.
Right. So I combined 2 and 4, but essentially it's let the public know you're open for business and have a public-facing message that you're LGBTQ friendly, but also make sure your policies internally are in line with that as well.
Were you surprised by the number of companies that scored perfect 100s on the HRC?
I was, and I often wonder, there were times Subaru scored 100 that probably should not have, because we did not at the time offer, there were domestic partnership benefits, but there was not an allowance for LGBT people to adopt. For instance, the adoption benefit was not granted to them, and they still got 100 by the HRC. I think had the HRC dug a little deeper, they probably would have been dinged.
Wasn't the criteria slightly different?
Like, the criteria changes a bit. I mean, the transgender things changed, but back then, though, there was an issue about adoption, and I remember the arguments at Subaru about it as to whether they were going to allow the adoption benefit. And but Subaru still got 100 at the time, and probably should not have. But I worked there.
Just to round that one out, 609 companies earned a perfect score in 2018 for the Human Rights Campaign Annual Assessment of Employers and Workplace Policies. That's an amazing number. I mean,
hey, it's a far cry from when it
what
used
it was,
to be 30 something. So
Are you going to post that to?
Yeah, I'm going to post them both on our Facebook page so people will be able to access them. And thanks for joining us on our maiden voyage of 2018. If you saw our Facebook posting today, John and I are delighted that in March will be our 10th year of doing this. We started in 2008.
So, Tim, we're going to be
unbelievable
broadcast personalities for a decade.
For a decade.
And
well,
people still stop us on the street.
Well, they did back in the day. So thank you for everybody who's been with us and part of our family, whether you've been with us through the whole 10 years or you're new to the Focus Group family. We do appreciate you spending time with us, and we know a lot of you time shift. So those of you that listen live and call in, we still appreciate that as well, obviously. Thanks to our friends at Deep Discount. Be sure to go to focusgroupradio.com and click on the Deep Discount logo. Lots of great items for lots of great prices. Probably, I think, the best prices you'll find anywhere on some of the items that they display and that they have. Also, Volkswagen of America, we're starting our 8th year.
8th year.
With Volkswagen of America. Go to VW.com. We have lots of great things planned this year with Volkswagen, so stay tuned and you'll hear about some of those as we go forward. And thanks for spending time with us. Remember, don't text and drive. Arrive alive. Was that right?
No, Garrett said that's
Did I say
ours.
it wrong?
No, he did it right. But Garrett, it lacked
I just
that.
want to do it.
No, he said that's yours.
Don't text and drive. Arrive alive.
Oh, my God.
See you next week.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Formerly on Sirius XM satellite radio and now accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.